Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, October the 6th, and we are excited to be welcoming Felicia Rickards with us today to join us for Speaker Chat. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm just going to do a quick check. Oh, no, I do see it. That's perfect. I want to make sure that we are live here. If you are watching us right now, or if you are watching this on replay, go ahead and click replay or live. And put that in the comments. If at any point you have any questions, or if we ask you any questions, go ahead and reply in the comments, because we'd love to be able to extend this conversation, and we might be touching on a topic that I think that'll be, well, I know we're touching on a topic that'll be really good for us to explore, because wow, what a year 2020 has been so far, right?
Absolutely. Unprecedented is not a strong enough word.
No, you're right. I think there's definitely going to be a lot more words in the dictionary that we didn't even think about before this year. So I would like to first do read your bio to
Mhm.
introduce everybody to you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how women can use corporate development strategies to realign their personal life path. And there is a lot that we can take from that whole corporate strategy to really apply to sort of what's going on in our lives now, both business and professional.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So Felicia Rickards is it Rickards?
Regards, yes.
Rickards, perfect, is a strategist, speaker, and author. She works as an OD and leadership strategist and personal development coach. Her experiences in the boardroom as an executive, board chairman, and deputy chairman have helped her to redefine corporate development techniques that can be applied to personal development. A supporter of lifelong learning, Felicia has achieved Masters of Arts status in Human Resource Development and Business Management. Well, you're a go-getter. In addition, she is a certified coach, a certified financial wellness consultant, a certified financial education instructor, and a William Bridges change and transition management facilitator. Felicia is accredited provider of the Advancing Women Leaders Assessment Tool, and she is also an authorized global network affiliate for Linkage Inc., a global leader in the field of leadership and organizational development. As a global business connector for Women Speakers Association, I'm so excited that you are representing us out there. Felicia's aim is to help women command their space at the front of the room, wherever that might be. With business interest in multiple jurisdictions, Felicia enjoys the art of facilitations across the cultures. And that is why you are such a great guest to have today, because just reading your bio, you've done a lot. You've touched on a lot of different things. And I wonder if maybe some of that was within the corporate development strategies that you realized that, hey, you needed to explore and further develop where you were going with your life.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so many times when I was sitting in a boardroom or having a strategy session, I was thinking, we, particularly as women, spend so much time in companies. Most of us have worked in a formal corporate or job setting. We spend a lot of time ensuring the success of that company. And generally, women take it very seriously. And as I was going through those processes and leading teams, I realized this is really no different than what we could apply to our everyday lives. And that's when I started to develop certain strategies and terminology to apply to our personal life.
Well, the timing couldn't be better for us to be sharing this. You think about how have women in particular been impacted by the global events of 2020?
Well, women have been disproportionately impacted. I've spent some time in the past few months reviewing studies. And I don't want to generalize. I first want to say that I'm not going to generalize because it obviously differs for different women, different backgrounds, different environments. But across cultures, women have been impacted. They're usually primary caregivers for their family. Um, Generally, they're financially more burdened, particularly if they are of divorce or single parent status. And also, generally, women take the burden of providing education for their children and ensuring that that education is of a quality that they are happy with. So women have really taken on additional burdens to navigate their families through this entire year.
And you're talking about, the working with the education of your family and, before it may have been, making sure the homework was done and, making sure that there is that connection with the teacher and finding out what's going on and so forth. And that's a lot harder these days. And as parents, you know, you end up taking on the actual education of your
Mhm.
child, which not a lot of people are really, that's not their
No,
genius really, right? To
not,
teach
not at
others.
Not at all. And combine that with the fact that the responsibilities for their job had not changed, even though they may be working from home at the dining room table. I mean, I've had calls with women in the past few months where they've been late because they've had to make sure their 5-year-old and their 7-year-old had to log on properly, and then somebody wants a snack or a pee break. Another example was a lady who, her kids wanted to keep interrupting. And respectfully, the husband kind of peeked in. It's like, are you done yet? And she's like, no, I'm not done yet. Can you deal with it? Because, in most families, the mother is the person who answers the questions. The kid will often pass the father in a traditional family to ask a question. And then I've had scenarios where the mother even has to make sure that the logon's correct, the classroom is correct, there are multiple children in the home, and still the demands of meeting their work requirements. So it's been a challenge.
Yes, it definitely has been. And you even just watching the commercials that are out there, right?
Mhm,
I mean, they're showing us are these interviews that are happening with people and kids are coming in the back and yet you still have to keep your business mind intact. And
mhm,
whether you're someone that is, working a corporate position but now from home,
mhm,
or you're working, you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business, you're a solopreneur. I mean, it happens to all of us in some
mhm.
way, shape, or form. It's sort of a necessary evil to keep us all, home safe and yet still being able to contribute to our families and society in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the situation where, particularly where parents still may be living but not outside of the family, there's the added pressure of, not being able to see your mom or your dad or your grandparents and making sure they're okay. So there are a lot of considerations going on right now for women.
Yeah. So, because all know that these are happening, and maybe in the beginning we didn't think it would be an issue. I'm sure that corporations didn't think about what kind of issues were going to happen for their employees that now we're, you know, attacking work in a different way. So, what do companies do to manage the impact of uncertainty?
Mhm. Well, in general, so let's move the pandemic out of the equation for now because this is a different environment. So generally, a company they'll rally around their advisory board or their board of directors first and foremost. And then, of course, there'll be presentations by each of the department heads, and that will help to kind of lay the groundwork for what's happening with the company, what's happening with the environment. They'll pull in a review on what their human capital looks like, so what employees are in different areas. They'll pull in their CFO to review, what the balance sheet looks like, income statement, and then they'll review, what can we do? What can we change? Are we still fulfilling our vision? Is our mission statement still intact? So those are the things that a company would traditionally do. They'll still have to do that in this environment, but the process might be a little more intense.
But they do have that plan, right? So you're talking about that strategy. We're getting hit with whatever we're getting hit with,
Mhm,
you know, just in general. And companies that's a consistent thing that
mhm,
happens, right?
mhm,
So looking at what that strategy might be, they've kind of got it laid out, right? And steps and things that they need to, like, checks and balances,
mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, based on that and the fact that you have such a background in, corporate development practices and strategies, how can these corporate practices translate for personal use?
Mhm. Well, I realized what I started to do personally was to bring that approach into my home, probably much to the chagrin of my teenagers, when I would call a family meeting. But exactly that, you know, a family is a small microcosm of society. So there is an advisory board. There are the adults in the family. That's your advisory board. Your human capital or whomever else is included in that family dynamic, whoever they are. Everybody has a different skill set. One person could be more interested in the financial. Another person could be interested in, you know, what the family's mission is. Like, what do we want to do as a family? Do we want to enjoy adventure? Do we want to be high achievers? Do we want to be business owners? So this all can happen. What I say, replace the boardroom with the dining room. And that is exactly how you can translate all of that technique to your own family. Each person, regardless of how young, if there are children in the family, and I think this process has really reminded families of how smart and how much of an impact that young people can have in making decisions and understanding exactly what's going on. So this is a process that even the youngest family member can participate in. And that helps particularly the younger family members to understand that, listen, we're in this together. We all need to share our ideas, and we can all have an impact on how we grow as a family.
I love looking at it that way, though. You know, if everybody has that, if everybody feels like they're being listened to and being able to be part of the solution, then I think it's more likely that, you know, things will move forward in a more seamless, calming way, right?
Mhm.
It's interesting. Like I just, you know, whoever's watching us right now, you know, go ahead and put in the comments, have you implemented family meetings? I think that idea is really ingenious because, you know, especially if you are working from home, you know, there's got to be
Mhm.
rules around, okay,
Mhm.
between this time and this time, or if you have a question, then that door is closed, or
Mhm.
if there's, you know, a little, you know, you might have recording, right? Like we are right now, you could have
Exactly.
recording on the door, which means no,
Yeah.
you don't knock and try to interrupt, you have to wait, right?
Mhm.
And I think having that really, I guess, keeping the lines of communication open, which we want to do in corporate as well,
Mhm.
right? But bringing that home, wow. Um, I love how you've, you know, adjusted it, you know, the board of directors, you know, we have our board of directors, we have our council, we
Mhm.
have, you know, the team members, the
Yeah.
employees, which are,
Yeah.
you know.
We're all part of the team. You know, the adults are the other leaders,
Mhm.
um, and the entire family body. We're all advising each other, and you know, we have a strategy. And of course, in this environment where we're all in close proximity to each other for long stretches of time, I think many of us are really being reintroduced to each other,
Mhm.
good, bad, or indifferent. You know, we're being reintroduced to particularly those of us who have younger family members. You know, this is a young person, you know, who has interests, who have likes, who has dreams that usually we may not get time to talk about except for maybe Saturday or Sunday evening. And now we're spending a lot more time together.
Mhm.
And it's important, particularly with the global environment, the pandemic, the uncertainties, the weather, the bizarre weather that's been going on, that everybody understand that, you know, we're feeling a little anxious about this too. So that kids can understand and young people can understand that, you know, we all feel a bit anxious, and we can all decide on how we want to manage our next step as a family.
Do you find that, you know, setting up scheduling time for that family get together, and it doesn't have to be like, it can just be like, hey, let's, you know, share our days, whether, I guess more people are probably having those, you know, dinner time conversations now because everybody's home at dinner time
Mhm.
as opposed to commuting and so forth. But, you know, even just knowing, setting up those timelines where people know, okay, this, I'm going to have this chance to talk to mom
Mhm.
and talk about this idea at 4 o'clock, right? Because I know that she'll be available then and she'll have done her thing and I'll been working on my schoolwork and so forth. So just kind of like, I think setting up those parameters and really keeping lines of communications open is really
Yeah.
important.
It is, and it doesn't mean that you're not speaking at any other point in the day or the week or the month. It's just that, we have this set time where, if I've passed you in the hallway and I've checked on you, that's one thing. But to really, sit and connect and look each other in the eyes and just share, what we're going through and what we'd like to do. I think that's really important. And I think this year has really caused us to realign ourselves and remember that that's ultimately what life is about. That's what's really important, the connection with other people.
Right, it's why we're here, really. I mean, it's about our relationships. I mean, everything else is kind of what we do to maybe hopefully make those relationships better, right? Or to allow for things to, whether it be, purchasing items or having trips or doing whatever to celebrate. But it is really those relationships, and the relationships with our families are really important. So if you've put a lot of thought into this. So what I was wondering is, what formula can you suggest for women to use?
Mhm. Well, the formula really is very similar to any coaching approach, any personal development approach, any business development approach, and it's assess, plan, and act. So listen, guys, I'm feeling a little uncertain. I'm thinking about cutting back some hours. It could be anything, whatever you're feeling. And the plan around that is really important, because when you are feeling perhaps uncertain, the anxiety is because there's no action. The anxiety stays with you because you wake up the next day and you haven't made a decision. You wake up the following day and you haven't made a decision, and the following week and the following month. So that anxiety builds and it multiplies within you. So the planning and the act or the making a move or a change is really important, because that is what helps to relieve the anxiety, making the decision and planning it out.
So assess, figure out where there is a concern, or what it is that what's not going right and what you need to change. Plan. So put into place the things that you're going to do to make this actually happen. And action is, that's the one thing a lot a lot of people don't
Yeah,
take, is the doing, right? Actually
it
making
is.
this happen, right?
It is. And we all, I mean, even everybody, falls into that pitfall every once in a while.
Hmm.
There could be a fear, there could be anxiety, there could be lack of confidence. So that might prevent from immediate action. But the action is really important, taking some type of action, even if it's a small step or a small change, to help relieve the anxiety. And I think that's where many people are, is just the uncertainty, job security, if you're working for a company, the future of your business, if you're an entrepreneur, for example. It's really around just reevaluating and being creative. And it could be stepping into a different realm, a different role, an additional role for a short period of time, and then reevaluating in another year based on where the world is.
Hmm. Kind of adapt and reevaluate and adjust and measure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in many ways everybody has been forced to do that in some way, shape, or form this year. So it won't be anything that's a surprise. The terminology may be different, or the fact that people are going through this process but not sure if it's the right way to address it. So just by kind of laying out that process, it might help somebody else feel like, okay, yeah, so this thought process is actually good. Or maybe this evening I'm going to really sit down and think about why this is not working for me, because the reality is we can't underestimate that many people are going through some extremely stressful situations right now.
Hmm. And then, there's lots going on that we don't know, right? We
Mhm.
we put our best face forward, and but you don't know what's going behind the screen, or
Yeah,
behind the virtual virtual background
yeah.
even, right? So it's good that you can, you know, really turn to whatever your family dynamic is,
Mhm.
and have that. It's almost like a support structure, right? That you would have
Mhm.
if you were, your corporate weekly meetings or whatever it might be. Being able to do that at home it's really probably really good for peace of mind for everybody concerned.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just the sharing that will make the difference.
Mhm.
Our thoughts, and again, particularly as women, because this is the topic for today, our thoughts overrun our minds. We're constantly, thinking about why, what next, what to do. And sometimes just the sharing will just alleviate that pressure
Mhm.
on us. And we can't underestimate the importance of that. I mean, unfortunately, in today's world, the social media and the networking sites, they don't help because everybody comes across as so confident and so accomplished, and it could really make someone feel like they're underachieving or they're alone in this. And I really want to stress that much of that is just people trying to put their other foot forward and just keep moving ahead. It's
Mhm.
really not that everybody is just really hitting the ball out of the park. People are really just trying to keep moving and keep going ahead. So everybody is not in a really fantastic place, but the resilience is going to be important for us to all get through this.
Exactly. Trying not to dwell on things that you can't control and make decisions based on what you can control, and having that, one or two people, like that whole thing about, my person. You need that person that you can vent, you can share your ideas. Like you said, all you want is someone sometimes to just listen to you, to be there, not even ask any questions, just listen to you vent. And
Mhm,
then when you hear it, like when you hear the words come out of your mouth, or when you're sharing it with somebody, sometimes what you thought was a big thing doesn't
mhm,
end up being, and sometimes it is. I mean, I'm not negating that at all, but sometimes it's just being able to voice it is
mhm.
so valuable for people.
It is, absolutely.
So when you're working with women, because you said you're a coach as well, so you work with women and coach them through this process of both both the corporate development, but also how to put that into your personal life, correct?
Correct.
So when you work with women, how do you help them achieve these goals of, this inner peace, inner calmness, and the ability to maybe structure their life path moving forward?
Mhm. Well, this year, what's really been in demand is the assessment tools, the certification assessment tools that I work with around advancing women leaders. And that tool really helps women to really take a look, a self assessment, and look at what's considered the 7 hurdles and biases that are somewhat unique to women. And that's what we talked about a bit earlier around, the confidence issue, the inner critic. Women tend, generalizing again a bit, but the assessment tool does support it, generally won't be as forthcoming in what they need or what they want to achieve in the workplace. So it could be that, maybe a role switch or a department switch or a promotion is desired. Usually women are less forthright in discussing those and planning on how to attack those. So this year in particular, that assessment tool has been very popular. And I've been privileged enough to work with women who really want to just, say, listen, let's just look at me. We tend to look at everybody else. My
Mhm.
boss this, I don't like my boss, I don't like so let's look at me and see how I can recognize what I can strengthen, recognize how I can promote all of my attributes, and then use that to put a plan of action together to work with my superiors, work with my leaders to make that next move.
I think the assessment is a powerful tool no matter what type it is, but especially now, I think it's a great way to have people like kind of look at where they're at right now, right? And somehow once again, getting it out there, whether it be verbally or written, kind of go, you get, I'm sure you work with women that have like huge aha moments once they go through that assessment.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. In particular, the young lady I can think of, she works at one of the large accounting firms, but in her role was a support role. And this thought process of not feeling like you're included in the revenue generation process. And of course, generally that's a male dominated field where, you're the revenue earner for the company. But all of the support systems are critical to winning that contract, to presenting to a potential client. So the whole piece around, my significance in this company, my significance to the success of the company, that was a real eye opener in this case. And she was able to say, oh, right, yeah, now I get that. This is really critical to us winning new business. And now I have the confidence in, working with the revenue generating team, and, kind of sticking my neck out a bit more.
Mhm. And are there other things that you do with your work with women to achieve these goals?
Yeah, one of my I guess most rewarding projects right now is around financial mentoring, and in this case, this project is more geared around women who have had personal challenges that they're looking to overcome, and some of those may have been in abusive relationships that they have left. So the reward for me is in supporting those women, to again reevaluate where they are, because that's a difficult decision to go out on your own and start over, sometimes with young family members, and help them through that basic financial understanding of, their income versus their expenses, versus ensuring that, your family has an emergency fund. And of course, in my past corporate career, financial services, when I would say that about emergency fund, people would get that glazed eye. Now everybody is wishing that they would have,
Paid
acted on that,
attention.
because because everybody could use it right now.
Mhm.
So that has been particularly rewarding. For me, this year has been rewarding in terms of the work that I've been able to do with women, but that project is one that stands out for me.
Yeah, that financial education and just, even at the basic level, I think a lot of times it's definitely kind of passed over in the school system unless you're taking specific courses, and it should, I mean, it's a life skill, right? Just being aware of what's available, what's out there, and even just the basics.
It is, and working in financial services, the many times I felt that the content of the conversation, the level would did not match the person in front of me. So a lot of times I needed to take a step back and talk about the basics of, providing a secure pension in 20, 30 years time. I had to step back and talk about the basics of, ensuring that you're not working just to pay bills. So I speak very on a ground, on the level of the ground, in terms of, your salary is your income,
Hmm.
but many people spend their effort giving their income away in the form of bills. So how is it your income anymore if that's your priority, to give that income away to somebody else? So my term that I use is, write a bill to yourself. That's it, every month. What is it that you are owed yourself and your family every month that you're going to commit to? So those conversations have been particularly interesting this year, in light of the fact that, many people are very stretched and
Yeah,
in uncertain financial situations.
yeah, yeah. It definitely is. You're going to be working with lots of people moving forward, I think, because people are going to be reassessing
Mhm.
and wanting that assistance. Um, and Also, we mentioned it in your bio. You have recently become a global business connector with
Mhm.
Women Speakers
Mhm.
Association. And I know that you took on that role because of, the impact that you want to make. Do you want to share just a little bit on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, it fits just about everything I've spoken about today. All of the points I've raised today, it fits with my own personal mission. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the Global Business Connector role is that it's a very genuine and supportive way to connect with women from across the world, and really be attentive about what their needs are. And I'll give you an example. So I saw today, um, I won't say where, it was on a virtual site where there was a networking event with 80 people in attendance on a virtual networking event. And I thought to myself, there is no, to me, like what value compared to the GBC calls that I'll talk about in a bit, the value is completely diminished. And on the Global Business Connector, Connect and Collaborate calls, for example, we're talking in groups of 3 and 4, and everybody gets a chance to really be heard by the group, and really have a focus on their business goals, their personal goals, and that advisory board that I talked about, that Global Business Connector call is the advisory board. And then we open up the entire network, to members, to Women Speakers Association members, and then that becomes your extended advisory board and your network. So it's really a way to have substantive conversation, and not just a glossed over networking event. And so for me, there's value in it. And I find that I'm able to really share, and support and nurture others without an expectation, because the business setting is one thing, but true visibility is really what helps us all to move forward. And I've had individuals on one of the calls say, I just need clients. I just need clients. And the reality is, we really just need somebody to understand, what we feel, what we mean, and what we offer. And the clients will come after that. So I think this Global Business Connector role provides all of that. So it's really exciting.
I'm so happy to hear that. And yes, it's a relationship factor, right? Yes, we all want more clients, but
Mhm.
yes, if we make those connections with people and you really are authentic in what you're sharing, you're going to attract those clients much easier, and you're going to feel supportive as well, right? Because, as a lot of women that you may be speaking with, they may be solopreneurs, they may be transitioning out of corporate jobs that they've been in for, a number of years. And now this is all new and scary.
Mhm.
And having people that
Yeah,
have been there, done that, right? And it's so helpful.
yeah, it is. It is. And the other, what I found, the ladies that have attended, have really been gushing about is that connectivity. So I mentioned earlier that we've been thrust into roles where we're probably in our own homes, and we don't have that support system of the HR team, the IT team. I mean, we were talking before we started the interview, about the mic and the volume. We don't have that support anymore. Everybody's stuck at home in a living room, perhaps, or kitchen table. So these calls allow for that connectivity, and they allow for, some true, so a feeling of support, and no, I'm not going through this alone. And yeah, I can actually get a guest on my podcast, or I can actually connect with somebody that, wants to be an author as well, but is fearful of making that first step. So that there's real value, and I'm really excited about being involved.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so I would also like to take this opportunity, Felicia, for you to share your website, how people can get in touch with you,
Mhm.
for your coaching
Mhm.
offerings and so forth.
Mhm. Sure. So it's absolutely simple. It's my name, FeliciaRickards.com. And of course, I can be reached by email either at Felicia@WomenSpeakersAssociation.com or Felicia@FeliciaRickards.com.
Perfect.
And
And
I'll
you're
be
on social media as
yeah,
well.
found on the regular channels,
Yeah.
Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, although I'm not a Twitter, a fanatic, but you can find me there, and I'll respond to you. But certainly you can find me on LinkedIn. I love that as a tool for connecting with like-minded professionals, and Instagram as well. It helps to have teenagers for Instagram, though,
Yeah.
which I really,
You ask any little questions, right? You're going to be on Snapchat and
yeah, I
TikTok
know.
next.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, my two are banned. They banned me from TikTok. So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. The topic was definitely, taking those times and having those family meetings and really tapping into your advisory boards and having people listen to what's going on so they can understand where you're at and how to, use that to really, your overall personal life as well as your now work at home personal life, right? So once again, thanks so much, Felicia.
thank you. I really appreciated being here today, Trace.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.